If you've been feeling the call to write a book, it is no accident. Your book is needed in the world, so let's make it happen. I'm Nicola and this is the Unbound Writers Club. Hello, magical soul, and welcome to the Unbound Writers Club. Today, it's a solo episode with me, and I wanted to come on to kind of follow up from the last episode. So you might have listened to that one. I hope you did. But it was a session that I'd kind of repurposed. And in that session, I was taking you behind the scenes of writing my second book, Unbound, which I wrote primarily in 2017. And, you know, I had my old notebook that I used when I was writing Unbound. And that session was very much kind of introducing you to the Unbound writing approach. And what I realized is I wanted to do this follow up episode because at the moment I am writing another book, a new book, which will be my fifth, yeah, losing count. And what I am noticing, like this book has been bubbling for a while, and I am being called to approach it in a bit of a different way. So still Unbound writing, it's still like, you know, we don't need a whole outline, you know, just begin and see where the book wants to take me. But also what I was noticing is I was finding it quite challenging to really get going with this book using exactly the same approach that I was using back in 2017. And this book it's quite similar, I guess, to Unbound. I don't know exactly what it's going to be called yet, but it's about living unbound in midlife, like the Unbound Guide to Midlife, something like that. Who knows? It keeps evolving and shape-shifting. And it has kept evolving and shape-shifting. You know, I've been dancing around it probably, you know, for around a year, like since pretty soon after the Abundant Author Playbook came out, which was my last book. Yeah, I always know there's going to be another book that wants to come, but it wasn't clear what it was. I mean, this year it's really landed that I do want to write something around like this initiation of midlife. But again, it wasn't quite landing like exactly how I wanted to approach that. Actually, it's not so much that, but I was just finding it hard to actually sit down and write. And if you have listened to other episodes of the podcast, if you've worked with me anyway, if you've seen any of my social media content, emails, generally what I talk about, you know, if you've read Unbound Writing, you'll know. Like, I am a big fan of, like, you definitely do not have to have a rigid routine to write. You don't have to write every day. You can write in, like, really small blocks of time, chunks of time. You can write your book in 30 minutes a day or less, much less. Like, generally when I'm writing, it's less than 30 minutes. Yesterday, I wrote, I can't remember, about 650 words in about 12 minutes. Like, I had a short window between my next thing. And the reason I was able to do that, and this is what I want to share with you today, is because I have taken the resources, like some of the resources that I am using, they're resources that, you know, have been part of the Unbound writing process for a while, but I'm learning to use them in a new way. And there's a reason why that's important at this particular time. And I want to share this with you because you may be noticing this as well. And also it's kind of an evolution of the Unbound writing method, the Unbound writing way, because I always want to make sure how I am holding space for the writing journey, you know, for the clients that I work with, for the authors that I work with, and for myself, and how I talk about it. You know, it's something that can actually work for you. I want to make it more easeful for you to write your book, because the world needs more books by women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, beyond. You know, we want to be like harnessing this wisdom that we have gathered throughout our years. And I know if you're listening to this, I mean, you may already have a book out in the world. Amazing. But if you're listening to this and you're still feeling the call to write that first book, I know there are probably more books that are going to want to come through you. So there's never any rush. And I'm never going to be about, let's write your book as quickly as possible. Let's just get it done. Like, we get to savor the process. And also, there are ways that we can make it more easeful. And that's what I want to do. That's, you know, what I'm doing for myself at the moment. And really noticed, you know, a big difference by using some of my own resources in this different way that's really helped me to get momentum with this new book. And, you know, this is an approach that I am teaching, holding space for at the moment in the Unbound Book Incubator, which is this new offering which runs over 90 days, where the intention is that in the incubator you come in and wherever you're at, and you get to write your first draft within those 90 days. And I'm taking myself through this process at the moment. Like, we're just doing the first live round of it, and that will finish at the end of August. And I am aiming to have my first draft written by the end of August. And when I talk about a first draft, like, there is no pressure for that to be like the perfect finished article. That's not the idea of a first draft. You've probably heard people talking about a shitty first draft. That is very much the vibe. Not that it's going to be shitty. You know, the content is going to be amazing. It's going to be popping. But, you know, this is not the perfect finished, like, your book will never feel perfect anyway, even when you do get to the finished version. But that is not the vibe when it comes to a first draft. It's like, let's just get something down on paper or, you know, in a Google Doc, whatever it is, something to work with. So then you can move forwards and refine that to bring the finished version together. So that's, you know, what we're doing in the incubator. That's the process I'm taking myself through alongside the other women who are in that first live round that I'm running. And here's what I've been noticing. I've been noticing it, you know, particularly for myself as I'm working with this first book, is I operate differently to how I used to back in 2017, 2018, 2019. You know, certainly when I was writing Unbound, when I personally had more space. And I had more space, you know, I was running my own business, but it wasn't in the place it is now. So I had more space in that sense. Actually, I was living in a different country. I was living in the US at the time with Mr. H. So, yeah, you know, we had friends. We had like a network of friends that we'd made over there. But I did have more time and space because, you know, we didn't have our family around us. I wasn't seeing kind of my family regularly because I was over there. So I'm just recognizing that as I'm talking to you. I was perimenopausal at the time, but I certainly hadn't been through menopause. Now I'm postmenopausal. So my capacity is different now. Like, I run a business which has a lot of moving parts. I'm holding space for a lot of different women to write their books and at different stages of the journey. You know, I have a team who I work with at the Unbound Press. You know, there's more taking my focus. Also, you know, midlife menopause kind of rewires you. There's a lot of different layers here. The world has changed so much, you know, in those almost 10 years since I wrote Unbound. You know, we went through 2020, which I think, you know, that kind of rewired us all. We are bombarded with so much more content, like continually. Like, if you spend any time online, I mean, it would be interesting to go back to 2017, 2018, when it felt like we were being bombarded, but man, this is a whole other level. And there is just always so much going on in the world. And again, you know, I used to talk about this and write about it back in, you know, right back to, you know, probably the early 2010s. But now it's all ramped up, isn't it? You know, there seems to be so many crises happening in the world at one time. You know, it's a lot. And also at this time in our lives, you know, we're holding a lot. I've talked about my business, you know, relationships, family. You might have kids, you know, different, you know, whatever age they are. There's stuff going on with them. You might have elderly parents. Like when we get to this point in our lives, we're holding a lot. So to write a book within that, you know, it can feel extra challenging. And I was starting to think, you know, to be honest, oh my goodness, like, have I lost my ability to write a book? Because actually, you know, our attention spans are different now. You know, even if you are very mindful of how much time you spend online, like social media, scrolling, like the way we interact with our phones, you know, the amount of time we spend on screens, you know, adding AI into the mix as well. You know, the way we consume, even, you know, whether it's TV, music, it's all very quick. The way we buy things, like everything, you know, our brains have changed. Our brains are changing. Our attention spans are different. And like you may also have some kind of neurodiversity. You know, I'm not diagnosed myself. I'm sure there is something there in the mix for me as well. So like, that's a lot, isn't it? I don't know. I've just spent about 5 minutes at least talking about that. You know, what is different? So when I was coming to write this next book, it's like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. I had to find a way where I could. And something that we do in the Unbound book incubator is take like 3 of the core elements, which, you know, I've been speaking about. If you've done my Birth Your Transformational book program, which was kind of a precursor to the incubator, you know, you would have heard me talk about like these 3 core elements, which are like your vision and your mission for the book. Like, what's your why? Your personal experiences and stories, which is the essence of the book, and the reader journey. What's the journey you're taking the reader on? What's the shift you're creating? So you want to have those 3 core elements. That's what makes your book, which helps it to take form. And you can see, you know, vision and mission, the why, personal experiences and stories, E, and the reader journey, the shift, S, YES, yes. So this is the YES framework that we're using in the Unbound book incubator. And what I'm inviting each of the women to do in that, like, it's a series of prompts for each of those core elements, which you get to go through. And once you do that we look at what themes are there. And actually that gives you enough clarity to be able to, you know, get writing, move forwards. And I've always said, like, we don't wait for clarity, we write for clarity, but let's have something to get you going. But even with that, I was like, oh, hang on, but like, I feel I want to make this even easier for myself. And a couple of weeks ago, what I did, I took all of those prompts that are in the incubator, you know, for each of those 3 core elements. And I thought, like, I just really, because we were doing a writing spree, an Unbound writing spree in the collective at the moment, which is my membership and community space. And when we do a writing spree, the invitation is to write a little bit every day. And I knew I wanted to do that in July, but it's like, oh God, well, if it's anything like it's been this year so far, I'm going to struggle with that. Or just, you know, it's just going to be so insignificant, the writing that I'm doing. And I really wanted to get into momentum. So what I did is I put a prompt into Claude AI saying, look, can you ask me each of these questions? And I gave it all the prompts that we're using in the incubator, like the prompts for each of those three elements: your vision and mission, your personal experiences and stories, and the reader journey. Can you ask me these one by one? Then I'm going to voice note my response for each one. I'm just going to riff on what comes through. And then at the end, what I want you to do is just reflect any core themes back for me. And also, can you give me 30 specific writing prompts so that I can write a little bit every day in July? So writing prompts based on what I've shared with you. And I took myself out for a walk. It was literally 20 minutes because I had a call with my mentor that I was going on. And for some of the questions, you know, as I was voice noting, there would be quite a lot coming through. For others, you know, it was a couple of lines. There wasn't much. It was like, I don't know. You know, it was really waffly, just stream of consciousness, not coherent. But what I ended up with, what Claude gave me, like it reflected back some really great themes, which I kind of knew, but it was helpful to have them reflected back. But also it gave me these 30 writing prompts. And then based on like specific stories I'd shared with it, you know, different themes and ideas that I'd said that I wanted to be talking about, it gave me those writing prompts. And honestly, having those has been a game changer. And, you know, one of my clients said to me, you know, I'm not a big one for writing prompts. And yeah, to be honest, like I give writing prompts, but I'm not a massive one for them either. I've always been like, I'm just going to show up and see what wants to come when I'm writing. But I really needed this. And what I recognize is I needed this because of capacity, because, you know, I wanted to make the most of these small pockets of time that I have. I just needed something to get me going. It's like that blank page syndrome. Sometimes the blank page can be like, wow, a whole blank page, how amazing. Sometimes it can be like, oh, and you have to think, what am I going to write today? And I didn't want to have that extra kind of layer of like, oh, you know, what is it that wants to come? Because there wasn't always something coming. So going through that process literally took me 20 minutes. And it has given me like these prompts to spark off, I don't know, so far this month. And I've just been writing Monday to Friday. I've got to about 5,000 words so far. Like, it's not a huge amount, but like I say, I only write a little bit every day. I know by the end of August, I can have enough for a first draft. Not using those prompts all the time. And this is the thing. There's a couple of things I want to speak to here. You know, you start with the prompts, or this is how I'm approaching it. I probably won't use all of them. And actually, you know, at first I was like, yay, like this is really, I'm finding these really juicy. And then, you know, we ebb and flow. So I was like, I don't know. I'm not feeling them so much now. But then I was out for a walk yesterday and like this new perspective dropped in of like how I can approach the book. So then I get to create this new set of prompts for myself, which I've done, like based on this new way that I can position the book, that I can write it. But what that initial process did, working through the yes framework and just voice noting, really messy, it gave me enough to get started. Like I feel in connection with the book now. So that's the first thing. Like, it's not the be all and end all. It's not like that is all I'm going to write based on those prompts. It's like, this is giving me a doorway into my book. And I know now, you know, what the themes are. What are the core themes of this book? I know what my why is. You know, I know which are the stories and experiences that I want to be sharing in it. And actually, that's helped me to see the book in a new way. And I'm really excited now for how I get to move forwards with it. So that's the first thing. Like, this is just a doorway, like using this yes framework. Like, it gives you enough. It gives you that initial clarity so that you can really go on and write your way into what the book really wants to be. And then secondly, I want to address like the AI piece, because I know there are women in the Unbound writing community who are like, no way, not using AI. I don't want to, I'm not doing it. And I get that. Like, this is such a nuanced subject. Like, it's relatively new, isn't it? I know it's been around for a few years, but people are using it more and more. And I am never, and they say never, but you know, to me, if you've listened to any other episodes of the podcast, like if you've connected with me in any way, like I'm all about, it's like the process of writing your book. Like, it's so rich, it's so transformational. Why would you want to bypass that? Yes, there are things that we can do to make it easier, but we don't want to outsource the writing of it. Like, no way. Like, then you don't get to experience the magic. So, I'm never going to be one of these people who's like, get AI to write your book. I mean, like, what is the point? What is the point? Not at all. But what AI can be really helpful and supportive with is like taking like these stream of consciousness, whether it's writing or voice notes, and just pulling out like some themes, some prompts to get you going, like helping with that blank page syndrome. That's what I'm finding it really helpful for. And once I have that, it's like, off I go. I'm not going back to Claude every 5 minutes going, what do you think about this? Or it's like, no, I'm off and away. Thank you very much. See ya. And I understand if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I wouldn't even use it for that. And that's fine, because actually, still having this framework with these 3 core elements, the yes framework, like you have the yes framework. And the idea is like having that helps you to say yes to your book, like yes to the author you are, because you have that clarity and you can totally do it like manually. But I wanted to share that shortcut with you and to acknowledge, we're in a different space now. And, than we were certainly 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even. All of us individually, but also collectively. And that's only going to change moving forwards, isn't it? So, what are the things that we can do to make the book writing journey more easeful for you? I'm not ever going to say it's going to be easy, because, you're creating something that wasn't there before. You're bringing something new into form. You're expressing a piece of you. So yeah, there's going to be challenges. That's why it's a transformational journey. That's why your book will be so impactful. But how can we give you some tools, some practices, some resources that give you a more easeful doorway into your book, get you into momentum? This is the work we're doing in the Unbound Book Incubator. I'm really, really excited about it. Like I said, like we're in the current, the first live round at the moment. I'm going to be starting another live round in September. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I mean, as I am recording this, I don't have a waitlist page set up. If I do, I'm intending to. So have a look in the show notes and you can sign up for the waitlist. And if you can't see that, because I haven't done it, just message me. You can DM me on Instagram, pop me an email, message me on Facebook and just say like waitlist. Can you add me to the incubator waitlist? Yeah, just let me know if you want to go on the waitlist. Because the intention with that next round of the incubator is that, you create your first draft within 90 days. Okay, my loves, I'm going to leave this here, but I would be delighted to hear how it lands with you. So please do get in touch. Let me know what resonated, like how you're finding like your capacity to write at the moment. And I will be back again soon with another episode of the Unbound Writers Club.